Hey everybody, Greg and Rachel Danny again. Welcome to Fantastic Family Fridays. Man, I get so pumped about these things. Get all excited and ready to go. Hey, before we get started, we've got some exciting stuff going on. I hope you've been doing these practices, these principles. I hope you've been making some changes, getting excited about it, and structuring and building, designing your family life. But what we want to announce, we're so pumped about, we've had this opportunity to get into this beautiful remote resort here in Costa Rica. It's at the bottom of the peninsula, just absolutely gorgeous, a little retreat center, and we have access to it for just a few weeks. So I know this is short notice, but we want to, if we can pull it off, and if you get in there with us, we want to put together a small, really intimate, unconventional family convention retreat where we get, four or five families and get in there and we just go for it, right? Just have this awesome time. We're gonna do yoga and nutrition and fitness and healthy living. We're gonna do family activities and structure planning. We're gonna do all this fantastic family stuff, and we'll incorporate how to fund travel, and we'll get into world schooling and education and all these incredible things. And we'll put together in a 3-night, 4-day retreat where we just are in paradise, really drilling it out, trying to make it happen. So if you are at all interested in that, and you can squeeze it in, you got the time and finances, man, let's try to put this together, and we'll go in and have an awesome time. It's limited space, and it's for a limited time. We just have this small window of opportunity, and we just learned about it, and so we got to jump on it and make it happen. But it's gonna be just awesome. And Rachel put up a post, so keep an eye out for it. She's going to put a post with the outline, what we're going to cover, what we're going to do, and the cost. So exciting stuff. And if you don't hit, well, come to this one because it's going to be awesome. Here in Costa Rica, it's going to be beautiful. All right, so let's dive into this. If you have questions or comments, let's get involved. Let us know. We're going to hit some more stuff today and kind of build on what we already got going. If you haven't watched the previous ones, please do that. There's so much value, so much great content. Now we're going to get into this. I think we'll turn it over to Rach. I know we want to kind of hit, last week we really dug into the morning ritual personally, and we are just rolling into how that affects the kids and the family, and I think we'll dive into that today. So we'll just turn the time over to Rach, and she is going to inspire us.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we talked last week about what we called the personal morning ritual, and seriously, go watch that video because it's so powerful. It's so incredible for helping set the mindset, your personal mindset for the day, for how you're going to interact with your children, as well as helping you to reach your personal goals, because we need that time. Just because we're parents doesn't mean we're no longer people. We still have individual goals and desires and dreams. And having that daily morning ritual helps us in achieving our personal goals and dreams. So go back and watch that if you haven't. But today we're gonna kind of add to that a little bit more, and we're gonna kind of expand on that into something that is giving us a time and place to kind of do the same sort of thing, but on a family level now. So I'm just gonna explain it, okay? What we kind of call it is the family morning routine. And it incorporates a lot of different elements, and elements that we're probably going to talk about in detail in later Friday Hangouts. But today it's just going to be an overview of this morning routine and why it's so amazing and why it's so incredible. So, we have these goals for our families. We have these things that we want to accomplish as a family, and we have things we want to teach our kids. Maybe we're like, wow, we really need to teach our kids about gratitude, or we really need to teach them about, how to serve or help, or about telling the truth, whatever. All these different values we want to teach, all these even different things about literature and history and geography. There's things we want to teach our kids that we want to talk about with our kids, and we need a time and place to do that, or else it doesn't happen because our lives are busy and we're constantly doing this and that and going here and there. So the family morning routine gives us this time and place where we can implement this into our lives, because as we've talked about before, you can create a big picture of what you want, of the goals that you're after as a family, as an individual, But until you take those goals and you make them into chunks and put them into your day somewhere, it doesn't happen. So we have to make the time and place to put these chunks of our goals into place so that over time, with consistency, day after day, we're creating and we're working towards what we're trying to achieve. So what happens is when we create this family morning routine, we're creating a place, we're creating something that becomes like the default. I mean, this is like the fallback, you know. If anything else, everything else goes whatever crazy, we have this family morning routine that we can fall back on that gives us a place to make sure these basics are getting taken care of. And so, you know, whether you're going to work or school in the morning or traveling, yeah, on the road, traveling even, or you're homeschooling, whatever your life looks like, having a simple morning routine like this gives you kind of a basis, a foundation, so that even if maybe, you know, homeschooling's not happening, you know, for whatever reason, you've had a baby and so that's not getting done, or there's a school break, or even you're on vacation, you still kind of have this morning routine that you can do every day, anywhere in the world, no matter what's going on, and it gives you this place to connect and converse and, you know, discuss and share as a family on a daily basis, and it's really powerful. So what we're going to do is just go over some of the elements that are included in our family routine, because yours is going to be unique. It's going to reflect your values, your goals, your dreams. But by sharing what ours is like, which is really all we can do, it'll give you an idea or an example of some of the things you can include and, you know, maybe how you want to structure it. And I'm going to kind of separate it a little bit because we do homeschool our children, obviously, or world school them, as we call it. And so our morning routine tends to extend until almost lunchtime, pretty much, and includes, you know, their study time and things like that. But there's a portion of it that, you know, even if you're going to work and going to school, that you could still include before that starts that is going to help, you know, build this foundation as a family. And so I'll just go ahead and do that unless, Greg, you want to step in with anything? Oh, yes. He's nodding his head yes.
Yeah, I got something to say here. No, I love this stuff, and as I talked about last week, you know, I feel like I just have to reiterate this. I'm going to just keep pounding until you're just like, enough. But habits, my friends, is what makes a person. What you do, and we all have our habits. And so your habits are either helping you or they're hurting you. But we all have those habits, and we've got to get these set in stone. And what's great with a child is you just do this, and so they go through life saying, "Oh, that's just the way life is. That's what we do." And they, you know, later on in life they'll go, "Oh, you didn't do that as a kid?" they'll be like, "Huh? I mean, that's not how your life was." But if you want to set these rituals, these habits in place, then these kids get up every day and they're like, well, of course I know what I do. You get up and you know, you study great work and great books, and you write and you do these things that we're going to talk about right now. But it's just it becomes a hard life, and then it's not a checklist, it's not a struggle, it's not the fight. It just happens. And if you can start a kid on that path when they're little, oh man, the potential is unbelievable, and it's so exciting. But we've got to have a clear picture, like Rach said, of what your values, what you want most, what you really want to cover, and what you want these kids to really take into their lives of who they'll become when they become adults, right? What they'll be like. And if you can get this picture in your mind, if you can be a visionary, right, and get this vision of what you want your children to be like as adults, and then create the daily routine around that, oh, that's it. I mean, and this daily routine, this morning routine, it'll set the sails for their whole lives. That's sobering. And think about your morning routine right now. It's setting the sail for the rest of their life. Is it really helping? I mean, is it great? Is it a morning routine that they do every day? Because what we do every day is just the ingredients. We're just adding the ingredients to the sum total of who we become. And that's our whole life. Is your morning routine right now, is it empowering? Is it setting yourselves and your kids on this path to greatness? And a lot of people are just like, yeah, but it's morning time. We're not morning people. It's hard to get out of bed. And I, you know what? I'm all right. I mean, I get up at 4, so So, but if you struggle, all right, I understand that. This morning I got up at 4, right? And I was exhausted. I was dead tired. And when I got up, I thought I'd share this today because I wanted to go back to bed. I mean, that's one of the best things, right? When your alarm goes off and you just hit snooze and you're like, oh yeah, and you lay back down. And I wanted to, and I remembered, years and years and years ago, I kind of set this little rule that you don't allow yourself to make decisions those first, few minutes. You just do it. And so I was like, oh, should I go back? I started, reasoning with myself, and of course, the lizard brain's like, you need more sleep. And I said, no way, I'm not doing this. So I went in, I got a drink of water, and I kind of walked around a bit, and then I was up, and then I got thinking, ooh, I have this new discourse I wanted to study. So I came right in here, went into it, just had an awesome morning. But do that, get up earlier. I guess that's what I said. Get your can out of bed. And I know it's hard, but it's so worth it. Oh, it's so worth it. I mean, for your family, for yourself, for your life. If you got to get up an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours earlier than you currently do it. Oh, it'll bless your life so much, and you get you and your kids going. And if the things we talk about today, you're like, yeah, we don't have time to do that before we have to get the kids off to school, then all of you maybe say, hey, let's make a shift. We're all going to go to bed an hour earlier so we can have that hour together in the morning to start our days off with power. Now we'll hand it back to Rach.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of power in doing this, and it can be tough. It can be really tough to implement this morning routine, and it takes adjusting. But if you stick to it and you make it a habit, like Greg was talking about, if you make it a habit, then it just becomes easy. And literally, I mean, the mornings flow better, the whole day flows better. It just is like adding lubricant to the machine of family life, and it really helps to facilitate positive feelings and learning and all the developing relationships. So it's really powerful. It's really I don't want you to underestimate the power of doing this. Obviously, we say that with like everything we talk about, but really it comes down to that. It's the small things. The small things that we think, not a big deal. Really, they are the big deal. It's the small things that build this family. It's the little things, and it's doing them. I was just reading this morning in a book. Okay, I got up, did my little morning routine. I'm reading this great book that's called, what is it called, honey? What do you want?
How Will You Measure Your Life?
How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen. Excellent book. And one of the things he was talking about is, how high achieving individuals often measure the success of their life by their careers, but often at the expense of their families. And what happens is that they think everything's going along great with their family, everything's fine until it's too late. And he said we need to invest time and energy and resources into our families while we think everything's fine. That's the time to be doing it. Because if you don't do it, if you're not investing time and energy and resources into your family when you think things are fine, then by the time they're not fine, it's too late. So you have to do it now. I mean, you're like, oh, it's hard. How are we going to fit this in? How are we going to do these things? How are we going to implement these little things into our life and routine? But doing it is what strengthens that family. And then instead of getting weaker and weaker little by little, you're getting stronger and stronger, and you're strengthening those family bonds. That's what makes the difference. So it is these little things. So we're giving you all these little pieces here. I'm getting waved at over there. We're giving you all these little pieces. You've got to put them into place and get them there. It's going to make the difference.
I gotta just share some stories here, because this keeps happening over and over and over. I mean, I can't get it out of my mind, can't get it out of my life. I keep hearing these stories of people who pursued, with passion, pursued material success, and they achieved it at the expense of their family, over and over. I mean, I just spent a week with a good friend. He just flew in from Atlanta, and he said the same thing. I mean, talking to executives and very successful business owners. I mean, guys who just unbelievable wealth and success in the business world, and then in those quiet moments, they're just like, hey, you know what? I'm not fulfilled. I'm really not happy. We have all this wealth. We thought it'd bring us the happiness we wanted, but we don't. My marriage is hurting. My kids are AWOL. It's falling apart. I remember I had a friend who he is a nurse, and he was a travel nurse, and so he'd go over in other cities, and he was in there. He went back. He was living near us in Guatemala, and he went back for a trip and did some work while he was back there. And while he was there, he met this guy, and he was talking to him, and the guy was just grumpy and miserable, and he was very ill. He knew he was going to die, and he just was grumpy. And so, my friend was just talking to him, telling him what he's doing with his family, just chit-chatting. And the guy, one day, he goes in to take care of me, and he stops him. He says, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing." He says, "Years ago, I had this desire to really slow down, clear my schedule, so I had more dedicated family time to do things that mattered. And I didn't do it. I put it off because I got talking with my wife, and we had to have the newest things and the best things and the nicest things. We had to have the latest car and the biggest house. We had to just keep increasing materially." And so we went after it, and we dropped aside my goals and desires to strengthen my family in order to, get more material success. And he says, we got it. We got all the money. He said, "I've been divorced. My wife hates me, and my kids won't have anything to do with me. I neglected my health, and here I am. Literally, I know I'm dying. I'm on my deathbed, and I'm miserable. And I lost all the things that matter most because I was pursuing material success." Now, again, don't misunderstand me. That material success is great, and having money and nice things is great. It's powerful. It's a tool. It's an instrument to do great things, have great experiences. To have an unlimited account for buying books. I mean, that's like my dream, right? Just buy all the books I can ever have and study them. But something's got to go. And so, if you got to put forth the effort, if sleep goes or other priorities or something else has got to go. If there's not enough time to fit it in, then something else goes, because this is top priority. I mean, this is huge. And so make space for this. Make room. Make sacrifices. Settle things down so you can have this tight family bond. And we'll get into this right now. You want to jump into it, Rach? Or maybe I'll start. I'll start with it.
I just wanted to throw in a comment here that, maybe is a little extreme, but maybe needs to be said too. We've structured our lives so that family time is of the highest priority. That's why we travel. That's why we work from home. That's why we homeschool, is because we believe that, doing this, raising our family, is the most important thing that we can do, and we have a limited amount of time. It's not something, I could have a career that could last for the rest of my life, but I'm not going to have my kids with me for the rest of my life. It's limited. I've got, 20 years with each child maybe, and then they're adults and they're on their own. And so everything that we've done, everything that we've, implemented into our life has been kind of with that end in mind of how can this help us spend more time as a family, do these things to strengthen our families. And so maybe, I'll just throw it out there, maybe for some of you, you need to consider, maybe you need to consider starting a job that you can work from home. Maybe you need to consider homeschooling, if for nothing more, just to have more time with your kids. Or it's coming back.
Man,
We're
sorry
back.
guys.
It was just time for our unexpected Costa Rican internet intermission. And now we're back. Okay, I'm just going to slightly recap. I don't know what was last heard, but basically I was just saying we've structured our lives to make family time a priority, and that's why we work from home as entrepreneurs. That's why we homeschool. And so I'm just throwing it out there as a consideration for some of you. Maybe that's something you need to look into. Maybe you should look at starting your own business or homeschooling your kids, if only for the fact of, or traveling abroad. You know, there's power in taking your kids abroad. You know, that there's real power there in helping your family to unite. Maybe that's something you need to consider for your family to help strengthen those bonds that maybe are weakened already. So that's just something I wanted to say, and I'll now turn it back to Greg.
Awesome. All right, so I guess we'll jump into the first thing. You want to train your kids to do their own personal morning routine, just like we do. You start getting them, even the little guys, you know, we get them in the scriptures first thing in the morning. They come out and say, okay, hey, let's grab your scriptures now, start doing it. And when they're little, it's like a verse of scripture. I mean, that's about all they got. And they're like, woo, I did my scripture study. And then they'll do some reading, they'll get them drinks. But you get them their priorities, and you get them spending time with God and quiet things, and you get them reading and writing, and you just get them into this routine. So then when they get into their youth, then it's habitual. They wake up, they just know they go right into scriptures and great books, and it starts to affect them. It affects their mind and their mind development, their maturity. And all of a sudden they're getting all these great principles and ideas without you having to say, hey, let me tell you this, let me teach you this. All of a sudden they read it on their own. They read this great book, and they read the story. I mean, this is what happens with my older children all the time. They'll read a story and they'll be like, Dad, I loved that part of that story. And I'm like, that's great. That's what I love too. I'm like, why did you love it? And here's that conversation, right? Here's the principle. And they're like, well, I can't believe you treated him like that. That's not okay. You're supposed to treat people like this. And all of a sudden, bam, I don't have to be there telling my kid, you know, how he's supposed to behave. He's on his own going, that was awesome. So let me throw on a side note. Don't read crap to your kids, and don't give them crap books. Okay? Forget the garbage. There's more than a lifetime of phenomenal books. Do not bring crap into your home. Man, don't waste your time with that junk.
So I just want to say something too. Having this morning routine and having this, you know, something for them to do also just helps the morning to go smoother, because without it, it's kind of like they get up and then, what should I do? I don't know what to do. I guess maybe that's more, you know, if you're not homeschooling, or yeah, if you are homeschooling and there's not school to go to or work, you know, there's not this feeling of, well, now what do I do? And so if you have this morning routine, specifically if you're homeschooling, it's giving a structure in the morning right away. Yeah, this is what you do. There's no reason to just get up and sit around or whatever. There's things you can be working on, things you can be doing. So it really helps with just, you know, keeping the flow of the morning smooth and helping to get things done. So wanted to add.
Awesome. And so okay, so we have personal time. This is how we structure it. Again, here's the principle. You modify it to best fit your life. So we set up the principle. We're each doing our quiet time. It's our personal time. It's personal development. I mean, remember, the best thing you can do for your family is to make the most of yourself. Right? So I work on me harder than I work on anything else. And I push myself. I'm hard on myself. And so I need to become a better husband, a better father. I need to have great health. I get great mental health, emotional health, physical health. I'm working on all those things. And you want your children to start that habit. Well, then everyone kind of has done their thing. Everyone's awake, and they've all done their little morning priorities first. And then we kind of head into the kitchen. Now, in our family, we love to do all of our meals together. Almost always, we have all of our meals together. And I love having the kids participate in making meals. And man, the older ones are getting good. I mean, remember, our oldest is 11, and our three oldest, they can cook up some magic in the kitchen already. It's pretty awesome. I mean, they're good, and so I mean, we can say, hey, will you go make us a meal, and they can go do it. I mean, it's awesome, as young as they are. And so we're getting them involved. So they're getting leadership skills and life skills, and competence and confidence. I mean, all these things already, these are things we want them to have, and they're already getting implemented just by doing a little bit each day. It's not this huge deal. It's just, hey, we get to do it. And so they get more confident, they get more skilled, and they're just like, yeah, I like it. And you make it fun with them. If you have the right attitude, you can make all of this fun and exciting and good. And you're not the drill sergeant. You're not the micromanager. You're inspiring them. You're leading them. And so then, incorporated with breakfast and the meal together, we get into what we have as a morning devotional.
Hold on. I just wanted to point out that, that's a very simple thing, having breakfast together and making time for the kids to practice or learn how to cook. But yet, that's a part of our morning routine. That's specifically in there for that, so that they have a time and a place to learn what we call adult skills. Now, instead of, oh, well, I don't have time to teach my kids how to cook, and they grow up and they don't know how to cook. They're learning how to cook just simply by having breakfast together and cooking with them. So, I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's part of the whole puzzle pieces. It's part of the entire, putting that all together to create this long-term end result just by doing something simple as cooking together or assigning them to prepare a meal. Easy, simple.
And like Rachel said, this great principle there is, doing a little bit every day adds up to a massive sum instead of, oh man, now I got to teach my kid all this stuff and you're burdened with it. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I meet, kids going off to college and they don't know how to cook. They don't know how to cook water, man. So you got to get these skills going, and also decision making. We're right there where, and I'm sure maybe your kids know this too. There's nothing to eat, or what should I have? And we're get past that. Okay, hey guys, what should we have for breakfast? Here's some options. Here's another options. Here are some of the ingredients we have. What could we make with these ingredients? Or let's have something different. Let's jump online and let's look for a recipe with looking for just these ingredients and see if we can come up with something. Or let's eat a breakfast from Asia or from Africa or Europe, and so that you get thinking going, you get ideas, you learn how to learn. I mean, it's just a blast. So as we're starting into breakfast and devotional, this is what I love. My kids don't see me studying at 4 a.m. because they're still in bed, and that's one element I kind of miss, because you want to inspire them, and children will do what they see their parents do. Let that just sink deep into your mind and your heart. Children will do what they see their parents do across the board. Music, reading, interactions, reactions, leadership, ignorance, or education. I mean, whatever it is, children will do what they see their parents do. And so they'll see me do that. And so this is my opportunity to share with them what I learned. And I love doing that. I love bringing out a story or principle. Hey, guys, guess what I learned this morning? Guess what I studied? This is so awesome. And even this morning, it brought out a great conversation.
I just want to clarify, because I don't think you made it very clear. This is now during what we call the morning devotional. So this is while we're eating breakfast together. One of the kids has prepared breakfast, or Greg or I have prepared it. Now we're eating together, and then we call this our morning devotional during breakfast time. Oh, no, you were talking. I just wanted to clarify that. That's all.
So we're starting the devotional. We're getting into those principles. We're asking great questions. And so this morning, I had a great conversation about it. So I read about this principle. What do you guys think? Why does this matter? And it led to this great discussion, and it almost always does. We get something we get talking about, we get excited about it, and we get going. And it's just a great life principle, and so it's a fun and exciting and natural way to teach your children values and character and integrity and honesty and all these great things that you want your children to have. And it's not, son, come over here and sit down, we're gonna have a talk, and it's kind of uncomfortable. It's not like that, because it just comes up. Hey, guess what I read about? What do you guys think? And they're like, yeah. What are you going to do about it today? Yeah. And so this morning they gave, each of them kind of went through it. They processed why it's important, how it applies, and something they could do today to improve on that principle. Oh, you think how powerful that is if you do that every day. And that was just from a conversation from something I read at 4 a.m. I mean, it was awesome. And so then they can share what they read, and then we read together. So do you want to jump into some of the elements of the devotional real quick?
So during the morning devotional, it's not structured, but we go out, we take some basic ideas and implement it. It can change from day to day just depending on, what we feel like, what we're interested in. And what I kind of do is at least get some ideas of things I would like to accomplish during morning devotionals and then prepare a little bit beforehand so that we can then implement that. Like we have a book that we like to read from. It's called The Dictionary of Cultural Literacy. And it just goes through like all the different things that, would be nice to know about, like knowing about the Civil War, knowing about Shakespeare, knowing about, stories from literature and places in the world and history and just all these different elements of cultural literacy. And so we have that book and we'll keep it right there by where we eat so that if we want, we can open it up and say, hey, do you guys know about Gone with the Wind? Or, hey, do you know about Gulliver's Travels? And it gives us something to start conversations that then we can discuss. I also have a little notebook where I've written scriptures in and poems that I'd want them to memorize. And we'll go through those and we'll practice them together and challenge them to learn them on their own. Parker, who's 10, just memorized Invictus. And that was just, a challenge I'd given them. I'd written it in there and I said, hey, why don't you guys learn this and I'll give you a reward. And that can change depending on, different elements. But so we'll do memorization, we'll do scriptures, we'll do discussing cultural literacy. We will spend time practicing Spanish, conjugating verbs. Greg will go through and say, conjugate each of the verbs according to the nouns. And so we'll do that. Just any different thing that we're wanting to learn or implement or talk about, this is a great place to do it. And it just gives you kind of a platform, where you're with your kids, you're all together, you're eating, and you get to discuss these things. And so you really just need to structure it depending on what kind of goals you have. Do we want to learn a language? Do we want to talk about truth, telling the truth? Do we want to, learn about history or geography? And just find tools, books, resources that you can use to just implement into that and start conversations. Really, that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to start conversations with your kids so that you can connect with them and you can share values and transfer beliefs and talk about the world and what's happening, what's going on, and how to make good choices, things like that. It's just pretty basic and just takes a little bit of prior planning. I'm not planning a lesson necessarily, but I'm just thinking, hey, I'd like to read this book with them, or I'd like to talk about these things. Let me just set the book here so in the morning I can open it up and we do it. Is that good for the morning devotional, Hen?
I just want to add, and maybe we'll do another one of these where we really dig into the morning devotional and really get you some deeper value. But we also memorize, and memorization is so important. We've been so blessed with technology and the computers and tablets and phones and all these resources around us, which are great. But I think there could be a danger there that we no longer really dig in and put in the effort and the discipline to memorize something, to really make it ours, because we're like, oh, I'll just look it up. Where beforehand, back in the day, if anybody wanted to know something, they had to memorize it. And so oral histories were passed around, and men and women could quote poetry, difficult poetry, verbatim for a long time, even up to hours. They had so much stored in their minds. And they exercise that. Well, doing it every day in the morning, you pick something you want to memorize, a poem, a scripture, a thought, an idea, whatever, and you just do it over and over and over and over. That repetition just happens, and even the little guys, they just sit there and they're just eating their breakfast. You don't think anything's going on. Well, a few months later, they're like, da, 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 and they nailed it. And you're like, yeah! It's because you just do it over and over and over. And again, I guess that's the whole point with the whole morning routine, the family. You do these things, you do them every day, you make them meaningful. Please have a good attitude about it. Smile, laugh, make it fun, make it exciting, make learning incredible, make these principles exciting and valuable. I mean, you're smiling, you're excited about them, you're telling how much it brings value to your life and how much you appreciate those things, and you do it in a way that's effective teaching, then your children will want to learn, they'll want to do that. and they want to get into it. Our 3-year-old, it was like 2 days ago, he's like, Dad, what do you say, baby? More Spanish. Let's do our. Are we gonna do Spanish? Let's do our Spanish. And I was like, yeah, all right, buddy. I mean, we were talking about other things and didn't do the Spanish. We're like, let's do Spanish. And while we were eating it, so we did it. I mean, they get it and they like it and they value it, and so they're gonna keep doing it. And man, it'll just make the biggest difference. So I guess that's good for today. I mean, this is valuable. It's great. Get these things going in your life in an exciting way. Again,
hey, wait, are you saying good for the day like we're done? Because I'm not done. I have some more stuff.
Whoa, okay.
I thought you meant good for the morning devotional. I've got more. I have more. That's good for the morning devotional for today. We can do more on the morning devotional later. But I wanted to touch a couple other things that we do. Now, already you're probably saying, wow, this is a lot of stuff. How am I going to do this in the morning before we go to school? And you're really just going to have to pick what's most important and implement that, and it's going to be shortened. But I still want to share, our entire morning, because there's examples and things and reasons why we do it that can be important, and so I at least want to touch on them. We will expand on them in future Fridays, but I want to touch on them before my husband says it's time to go. So the next thing is just morning chores, and simply that is a time and place where you can teach your children how to work. I think too often that doesn't happen enough. Kids don't get the opportunity to work, and so they don't learn how to work. But if you have, morning chores and daily chores that you're working on, then they're learning how to help around the house and how to do certain things so that mom isn't doing all the work. That's been a huge blessing for me, teaching my kids how to, wash the dishes and clean up the kitchen. So even now, we'll have breakfast, and then we'll just say, okay, guys, do the cleanup. And they each have a job, and they get the entire kitchen cleaned up after breakfast. And it's awesome. I can come in, I can prepare for study time, I can do my work, and the kitchen's getting clean because I took the time beforehand to invest in teaching them how to do these chores. And so that's something you really need to look at, especially if you're homeschooling and the kids are going to be around. And if you're sending them off to school, then you might want to just simply think of a way to implement this later in the day, maybe when they get home or something like that. But you ought to have a time and place for them to do chores and do work and help around the house. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Then a couple other things, and then we'll be good for today. These probably apply specifically more if you are homeschooling, but it might be something you could also incorporate into the day after school, things like that. One of the things I do is what I call mommy fun time. And it's simply a time where with the kids, and I like to do this right after, like morning chores, morning cleanup. And it's a time where I called it mommy fun time so that I can remember that, we should be having fun together. It's not a, hey, I want to teach you this type thing, or we need to learn this. This is what I'm interested in, this is what I like, and I want to share it with you, and we want to have fun together doing this. And literally my kids love it. I mean, they'll just be like, Mom, we can do mommy fun time, they're so excited about it because it's this bonding, connecting thing. And this can be anything. You can, I was interested in learning more about okapis, which is this rare animal that I just find so fascinating. So we'll look up stuff like that, or we'll do the hokey pokey, or we'll do a spelling bee, or whatever it is I personally feel interested, like, hey, that'd be fun to do. Maybe we'll paint or we'll draw. That's what I do during mommy fun time. And then finally, for our family, we move into study time. And again, these things we're gonna have a specific Family Friday devoted to them because there's a lot of elements that go into this that are powerful. But I'm giving an overview because for us it's included in our family morning routine. And so I'm just giving you an overview of what it looks like. We go into study time, and that's the time that's devoted for our children that they can focus on academics, and we encourage them to do their academic things before they move on to, just playing or whatever other projects they have interest in. We have this study time so that they can practice their math. They can practice their spelling or their reading or their writing. And that's a part of our homeschooling routine. So that's it. Now I'm done, hon. Do you have anything to conclude with? No, he's just smiling at me. So that is the family morning routine, and we encourage you to implement as little or as much of it as you can for the purpose of simply having a default, a basis that whether you're on vacation or whether, we literally have done this around the world, camping on beaches or in forests or staying in hotels. We've done this around the world, having the basics of the morning routine by having a devotional and eating breakfast together and talking about ideas. It gives you that basis at least to have with you no matter what, no matter where, no matter the circumstances. You have that to kind of fall back on, but also at the same time ensuring that you're moving forward towards your goals. So we encourage you to do that. We look forward to any questions or comments you have, and we look forward to next Friday. Woohoo! That's all. See ya. How do I turn it off?